Helen,
And I'm Liz,
and we're sisters
scientists,
and lifelong X-Files fans.
and this is We Want to Believe.
All right. Hi, everyone. We're back.
Welcome, colleagues.
Welcome, colleagues. We had a break, which is funny to say because...
You don't know we had a break.
Right. Well, no,
Yeah.
they will, though, because today is Thursday, Zach Werner's birthday. Happy birthday, Zach. Yesterday was your birthday. Happy birthday,
Oh, we're not
Liz.
going to make him edit this on his birthday, in other words.
No, he can't because William has a concert tonight. And then Zach has
Ah.
to, after the concert, he has to go do this like demo thing for the School of Media stuff. So he'll be out of the house until like 9:30.
Okay, so it's good that
So
he already had his party last weekend. Okay, so
Yeah.
then yes, we hope you enjoyed the episode that you listened to last week, which was an old episode. We don't know which one yet 'cause I
Yes,
haven't decided.
right.
Hope you
Yes.
enjoyed that. We're back.
we're back. Yeah. You're 43 now.
I am 43. Yep.
Congratulations. You
Thank
did
you.
it.
I worked yesterday on my birthday, and I was
Oh.
just telling, it's fine. I was just
Yeah.
telling my students though about when I was, you know how you hear about how like people's brains aren't fully formed even when they're in their 20s or whatever.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
feel like this story is evidence of that. I was in my first full year of teaching,
Oh,
just out
yeah.
of finishing my master's. Do you know about this?
I
What I
think,
did on my
yeah,
birthday?
I don't remember entirely though.
Yeah, I mean, I think this alone is kind of stupid. I used to give extra credit for stuff that wasn't related to physics, and I don't feel like that's right in retrospect. Like, I once gave extra credit to if you could name the guy who threw the perfect game the night before, because it was Mark Burley on the
Oh.
White Sox, and like, I was like, spelling doesn't count. But I told everyone it's my birthday, and I was giving a quiz, and I said, if you can guess my age that I'm turning, I'll give you extra credit,
And
which is
how
so
old
stupid.
were you? What?
Well, I'll get to that.
Okay.
I said that, and then
Mhm.
I had a student write on there, don't worry, you don't look a day over 30, and I was turning 26.
Oh, no.
So I was like, oh, this was a bad move.
Oh, that's funny. Well, you don't look
Yeah.
a day over 30.
Yeah.
So-
I think I do at this point, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. You were saying you had stories?
Yeah, I do
Is
have a
this-
riddle that you might
Ooh.
enjoy. It's
What's it got in
it's
its
a
pockets?
it's a physics riddle. I gave it to my
Oh.
students yesterday on my birthday, but it was physics related. And and it's real life. It happened, but it's also a nice riddle.
Okay.
Adam and I were driving to work, and a car passed us with the license plate OHM space X space AMP.
Ohm times amp?
Yes.
Okay.
What type of car was it? What make and model of car was it?
Oh no. Oh, ohm times amp.
See, I mean, I wouldn't expect you to remember this equation if it's been a while. I
Yeah.
will tell you this, Ohm's law. So I think this has
Okay.
been a long enough pause. Our listeners can think about this. Ohm's law says that the voltage across a resistor equals the current through it times its resistance. So V equals IR.
Oh,
So
God, I remember that. Okay.
Yeah, and so the units of current are amps, the units of resistance are ohms. So we have current times resistance. That's their license plate.
Okay.
And so that means that's equal to voltage.
Is it
So-
But see, this is part of the problem is that I don't know cars either. So I'm like,
Yeah.
is it a voltage? Is that a car? Was
No,
it an
but
electric car? Was it an electric car?
It was an electric car, but
Okay.
specifically it was a Chevy Volt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty clever.
Yeah,
pretty
I liked
clever.
that. Yeah.
I wonder
I was pleased.
I do have a colleague that listens, Britt.
Mm.
Hi, Britt. She is working her way through our catalog, though. She was like, "Oh, I was excited to see you have new episodes, but I'm not there yet." I was like,
Oh, that's awesome.
So I'll have to, I don't know, in a few months, check in with her and see if she
Yeah.
got the riddle.
Yeah.
She's a physics professor.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty clever.
And then I'll also just say I was on a webinar this morning about some travel stuff. Informative webinar. It was 50 minutes long, 50. Would you like to guess? And listeners, you can also guess in your heads how many times the presenter said the phrase, with that being said,
Oh, 5?
12.
Oh God.
Yeah. And I realized as soon as she said it, I was like, oh my God, I've gone to another one of her webinars years ago and I
Oh,
started tracking it. Like clearly her thing. Like I don't think she realizes she's doing it that much,
right.
but she
Like
still
a
is.
verbal tick of some
Like,
sort, like how
yeah.
you say and like.
Hmm.
Oh
Yeah, just
no.
longer. Yeah. All right. But
Oh,
my main story I have to
hold
share
on.
before we get to the episode.
Can
Oh,
I
yeah.
interrupt? Because I have a related guessing question
Oh, I
related to
would love
that.
that. Always.
So I took part in a training for I think I brought this up at some point. I took part in a training for the Defense POW Accounting Agency, which is
Yeah.
yeah, federal agency that works with colleges, museums, archaeologists, historians to help find and recover the remains of soldiers who went missing in action.
Yeah.
And I would like you to guess the ratio between the amount of time that we spent talking about explosives and how to identify them in the field and what happens to archaeologists who do not properly identify them in the field first,
Ooh.
looking at some grisly hand pictures,
Oh God.
um, versus the amount of time we spent going over, like, looking around the website. Would you like to guess that ratio?
But just looking around the website,
Yeah.
like, isn't that
Yeah,
just some?
someone guiding us through the website.
Oh God. I was originally going to assume that the explosives filled up the bulk of the training, but now suddenly I have a bad
No.
feeling about this
Yeah.
because watching someone poke around a website sounds like torture.
Yes, it was.
Was it 1 to 1?
Nope.
Oh no. Was it 2 to 1?
Nope.
No.
It was almost 3 to 1.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I at one point
Oh,
I called Zach upstairs. We worked in the same building and I texted him and was like, "Can you come listen to this?" Because it was the guy was talking so slowly and it went on for so long. And
oh.
it was just like I need someone else to share
You
a
mean like
little
a
bit
witness?
of
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that like he can corroborate
Oh
just
my
how
God.
long this website training went on.
Oh my God.
So
Oh,
yeah.
that's so much worse than with that being
Yeah.
said. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh my God.
Yeah. You had a
Okay.
different story though?
Yes. Did you hear about the kayaker in Green Lake, Wisconsin, and what happened?
No. Uh-uh.
Okay.
I know
So back
Green
in,
Lake is where our family used to live. Not
yeah,
our immediate, but our aunt and uncle.
yeah. Well, a guy named Ryan Borgwart, who's 45, he went missing while kayaking there in August.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, whoa.
And they found his kayak, his life jacket, and his fishing pool. His vehicle was at the boat launch. They
Whoa.
looked for for his body eventually for over a month. This was August. And then in mid-October, or late October, or actually, no, it was even more recently. It was early November. Investigators have learned Borgward obtained a second passport, cleared his hard drives and browser history, changed his banking information on the day of his disappearance, and purchased an airline gift card. And he was in contact with a woman from Uzbekistan.
Whoa.
Yes. He faked his
Whoa.
death to leave his family.
I would be so pissed.
Yeah.
I would be so pissed off. I
Yeah.
cannot even imagine. Oh my God.
Yeah, and then brand new news as of like this morning, the sheriff's department has video evidence he is alive and well. They have somehow contacted him. He apparently got on an e-bike that he'd hidden on the lake shore, rode away, got to Madison, took a bus to Detroit, and flew overseas.
Oh my God. What a dick.
Yeah, and the most interesting part is that a mutual friend of ours and teammate of mine had purchased their house. So she already knew him
Oh, oh
and was
my
like,
God.
it's that guy. So,
Oh my
yeah.
God. She bought a
Yeah.
house from him? Like
Like
she,
the house his
right,
family had previously lived in is the house she now owns.
right. Yeah.
So she was
Oh
like,
my God.
"Oh, it's the guy we bought our house from."
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh my
So
God.
yeah, I got a
So
message
when
that was like, "I need to tell someone this. Oh my God." So,
so so his family, so he had kids. Like this is him
mhm.
leaving like his
His
wife
wife
and
and
children.
children. Yep, teenage children, I think. Yep.
Oh
Mhm.
my God. Like you want to
Yeah.
have some sort of midlife crisis, like just let everyone know where you're going. Like
Yeah,
or not
like
where
get
you're
a
going, but that you're
divorce. Like,
fine.
yeah,
Yeah,
like get a divorce
right.
like a brave person, like a normal person.
Right.
Like,
Yes.
like, like,
Yeah.
I just feel like at some point when you were hiding the e-bike on the shores of the lake, you should have been like, maybe this isn't the soundest decision.
Yeah. Like that seems like some sort of mental break. Like that
Except
is
it's
not
very organized.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it took a lot of
Wow.
planning, and apparently he was taking these steps as early as last winter, like the start of 2024, like
Oh my
getting extra
God.
life insurance as if to be nice, so his wife and kids would be provided for.
Oh my God. I would be so unbelievably angry. I like would be on a plane to Uzbekistan. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah, yeah. Like, I mean, even fine, follow through with that plan. Don't make people think you're dead. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Be
yeah.
like,
Like,
hey, I have fallen in love with someone who's, I would say, 95% likely a con artist, and I'm flying to
yeah,
Uzbekistan. Like,
yeah. Oh my God.
yeah.
Jeez.
Uh-huh. So yeah, I've been dying to share
Wow.
that.
Oh man. Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
Wow. And so this house that your friend had bought from him, is
Yeah.
this in Green Lake or in
No, no,
Madison?
it's in the kind of Madison-ish area.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I
Yeah.
see. So he was local to Madison. He had just
Ish.
been up
Yeah.
in Green Lake.
Yeah. You know, I don't know where they moved
Oh,
after
okay.
they moved from there. Let's
Oh,
see.
okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, that part is not clear to me where he lived, but yeah, it does say
Wow.
the sheriff's department believes he is somewhere in Europe.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Jeez. Maybe you'll run into him next time you're in Europe.
Yeah. Yeah, I should look at his face and
Yeah.
you
You
know.
can just
I
go
mean,
up and hit him.
I'll be in Lake Bled. Maybe if I see a kayaker, I'll be like, eh, you
Yeah.
know.
Some poor Slovenian
If there
kayaker gets
yeah.
like assaulted.
Yeah.
Man, wow. Well, I feel like that
Hmm.
almost follows the theme of today's episode.
Wow.
I mean,
Wonderful.
no, but like it's the disappearance, someone miss, I don't know. Like it's more than say like, the
The fluke man.
right. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
I'm glad I don't have any stories that will make you think of the fluke man.
Good God. Me too. I mean, I have a lot of like, well, I don't have a lot. I have
I
like,
was going to say, I feel like you actually probably have some stories that relate to the fluke man. I don't know,
yeah.
with your work and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, really, the only one I can think of is when I was working at college after I had graduated college. So I was like a lab. Um, we've
Assistant
talked
person?
about this. Yeah, I set
Yeah.
up labs for other like
Oh, like lab prep person.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, and we've talked about this because I have several horrifying stories from that job.
Yes. Yes.
One of which is having to catalog jars of parasites.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah,
That's
yeah.
very much like Fluke Man. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Very nice.
Have I told on here some of the other stories from that job, like about the blood and urine?
Yes, where they
Okay,
were like gonna expect
okay.
you to just provide your own
Well,
for an experiment, or the woman did or something.
they wanted me to prick my own finger, and
Oh,
I
no.
didn't want to, and I
No,
got crap
reasonable.
about it from her. And I even let her prick my finger, but she was like, "Oh, what a baby." I mean, she didn't say that, but that was the attitude for me not wanting to prick my own. Yeah.
Oh my God.
She had been for a lab about urine, which I now know they make synthetic urine. She had been collecting hers and it was in the cold room, this big bucket of her urine in the cold room, which is just so horrifying.
Oh my God.
I know.
That's so horrifying.
Yeah.
I am just really glad that like I feel so confident I'm never gonna encounter my coworker's urine. Like
Yeah. I mean,
that's the
now
way you
I
want to
am
live.
too. Like,
Yeah. Everyone should have that confidence. That shouldn't be something to be grateful for. You should be able to
no.
take that for granted. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
That's so
It's
gross.
so gross. Yeah.
Oh,
So gross. Um, anyway, that job sucked and I wasn't there long.
no.
Um,
Good.
no.
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
that's also the job where I sliced my thumb open on a dirty scalpel at work
Oh
one
my
day when
God.
cleaning scalpels. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Anyway.
think there's just this assumption that like everything in science is so regulated and so like controlled and there's all sorts of I don't know
Yeah.
synthetic urine processes nothing
Yeah.
and like and while there are that there's still people involved who can still do some really insane shit.
Right.
Like
Yeah. There's
yeah.
still, yeah, there are dumb people everywhere.
Yeah.
Yep. Even in
Yeah.
science.
Yeah, I was just talking about how I don't think there's any teaching method that a bad teacher couldn't still make a bad experience. I don't think there's any method of teaching something that could not be defeated by someone who's a terrible teacher.
A
And I
video.
feel like,
Maybe you're showing a video in class one day.
yeah, I guess I meant like more like overall
Okay.
for a
Yeah. Yeah.
semester or something. But
Right.
yeah, you're right.
Right.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Like active learning versus flipped
Yeah,
classroom versus yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, man.
Um, wow.
Anyway, right. So this has more to do with missing people than like the flute man,
Great.
right? Yeah. So this is Oubliette.
Yeah, I
Um,
remember liking this episode and being
yep.
afraid of it, but I don't really
Yeah.
remember anything else.
Yeah, I couldn't remember, like the name didn't ring any bells, but then when I started watching it, I was like, "Oh, it's this one. It's very good."
Oh, good.
And it
Finally.
opens, yeah, it opens with a shot of Callie from Firefly. Callie?
Oh
Kaylee?
my God, seriously?
Yeah, yeah.
Kaylee. Kaylee?
What? Kaylee. Oh, I
Kaylee.
couldn't remember. I haven't seen it in
Yeah.
so long, but I love
Yeah.
Firefly. Yeah. So yeah, Jewel Straight? Jewel
State.
State.
I just looked it up. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she is in this.
Oh my God,
So
I had no
yeah,
idea.
yeah.
Wow.
So it has it's showing her getting her picture taken in a school gym. So it's like school picture day.
Oh wait,
Um,
she's like a high schooler?
yeah, she's
Oh
apparent
my
so she's
God.
supposed to be 15 in this
Okay.
role.
Okay.
And this actually gets me to a comment I was going to make later, but let's just talk about it now.
Yeah.
So she originally the script had her playing a 12-year-old and she was
Oh.
13 at the time.
Oh.
But after I don't know if like they had already shot parts of it or or if they were just like submitting the script. But it was deemed too similar to the Polly Klaas case.
Oh my
Um,
God.
so yeah, Polly Klaas was a 12-year-old who was abducted from a slumber party, um,
Yeah.
and murdered.
Oh God.
And
Yeah.
that was
And
in
that was around that
93.
time? Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And so the man who had killed her was convicted in 96. So it was like right
Oh,
in that
okay.
this was in
Yeah.
95.
Yeah.
So apparently the character was going to be 12, but they changed it to 15 because
Got
Polly
it.
Klaas was 12.
Yeah.
So
But the actress was 13
the actress was
regardless.
13. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So her name is Amy Jacobs, and she's getting pictures taken in the school gym, and there is a very creepy guy who is the photographer's assistant standing
Ooh.
there lurking. And then we see in his photography room, he's like at home looking at a picture of her, the like developed school picture, and is using a scalpel to cut out her outline and develop it into a photo with his cutout outline. So like it looks like they're standing together.
Oh my God.
real
Man,
big.
creeps could do this so much quicker nowadays. Just pop it into
Yeah.
Canva, remove background.
Yeah.
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 You
Real
really had to
big.
want it back in the day.
Yeah. Serial killer vibes in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then it shows Amy asleep in her bed and a dog is barking. But the dog is outside, so we can't
Oh no.
protect her.
Is the dog okay?
Yeah, no, the dog is not ever involved again.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
just the dog is barking.
Okay.
It's 12:05 at night, and the photographer's assistant breaks into her room through her window and kidnaps
Ooh.
her.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah.
her little sister shares the room and
Oh,
sees him abducting her. And he says to Amy, nobody is going to spoil this as he's like abducting her.
okay.
So then we see a waitress at a diner named Lucy, and she's apparently doing kind of poorly at her job,
Okay.
and is like seeming kind of out of it. And all of a sudden, her nose starts bleeding and she passes out.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
And
As
she,
you're saying all this stuff, I'm like starting to remember it.
yeah. And she comes to murmuring, nobody's going to spoil this.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah. So then the intro. And then we're at the crime scene, so at the people's house, and Mulder
Hmm.
arrives. And he's talking to Amy's mom, and says, I know how you must be feeling. And she says, I'm sorry, but how could you know how I feel? Which
Oh,
is
yeah.
fair, but we know that
Right.
he knows because of Samantha being abducted.
Yeah.
So there's another agent there, the agent in charge. And he says that they found hair and fiber, and they have a description from the sister. And the sister also had mentioned that Amy got a nosebleed when the kidnapper put his hand over her nose. So
Okay. Oh,
then,
so that explains how Lucy
right.
got the nosebleed. Okay.
I mean, as much
Kind
as
of.
anything. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Um, and Mulder says, well, what about this woman at the fast food restaurant? And the detective was like, oh, you heard about that? And so Mulder is going to go talk to Lucy, the woman who passed out.
Hmm.
And so Scully meets Mulder at the hospital where Lucy is. And Mulder tells Scully about how Lucy collapsed at the same time at 10:05 and was repeating the kidnapper's words. And Scully says, oh, that's spooky. And he says, that's my name. And apparently, when Lucy was 8, she was kidnapped from her bedroom while her parents were asleep.
When she was
Um,
8. Oh,
yes.
okay.
And she escaped 5 years later, and they never caught him. So they go in to talk to him, or nope, they go in to talk to her, to Lucy.
Hmm.
And she doesn't really want anything to do with it and seems pretty bitter, which all seems pretty fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she just wants to leave and is like, are you holding me here? Is the hospital? And they're like, no, like you're free
Hmm.
to go. And so she goes into the bathroom to change. And then we see the creep, whose name I didn't know at this point,
Hmm.
looking in his trunk on the side of the road. And a tow truck pulls over to help, and is like, oh, are you the one who called? And he's like,
Hmm.
no, and being all weird. And the tow truck driver is like, well, I can help you anyway, now that I'm here. Why don't you get your spare tire out of the trunk? And the guy's being all like, no, I don't want your help.
Right.
And eventually grabs a tire iron and
Oh
like
boy.
chases the tow truck guy off because he didn't want him looking in
Okay.
his trunk,
Yeah.
which like,
Man, this has very like Dwayne Barry just kidnapped Scully vibes.
yes,
Like, I feel like there's so many scenes. Maybe it's not just X-Files, but like somebody's kidnapped, the car's pulled over, you think things are gonna be good, and then they're not. Like,
yes.
ugh, okay.
Yeah, that's another thing we maybe should have counted. I wonder how many,
Yeah.
like, someone in a trunk, like the point of view of like looking up and seeing the person above the lid. Lid? I don't, you know what I mean. The trunk,
I
the
do.
like,
But lid seems weird, doesn't it?
yeah, I don't know what it would be though.
Uh,
So, anyway,
uh, door? No, not door.
what's like the opposite of the hood?
I don't know because I thought hood. Yeah, the is it
Trunk?
just
I
is
mean,
that the
just,
trunk? No, the trunk is the space. All right.
yeah,
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. In college, or no, not in college. In high school, I put some friends in my trunk. I don't remember why.
God, why?
I don't remember. We thought it would be interesting. Like they volunteered and drove around the neighborhood. I
Huh.
don't know why. Yeah. In retrospect, I don't know. Again, I'd make very different decisions now. I mean, I
Yeah.
have an SUV and a hatchback, so it'd be less exciting,
Yeah.
but I drove a 84 Grand Marquis with an enormous trunk, and maybe we were just like, hey, we could do this. Let's do
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Who was it?
Seth and Emily, I know for
That
sure, possibly others. Yeah.
sounds about right.
Yeah. There's also a time where Seth was laying on the hood of my car, waving an American flag, and I was driving. I don't
Oh,
know.
really?
Again, I was driving really slow, but still, man,
Yeah.
when they say like there should be good activities for teenagers to do in towns so they're not at loose ends, I feel like Exhibit A. Like we
Yeah.
weren't drinking, we weren't doing anything that had like the markings of like traditionally bad behavior for teenagers, but we still found ways to be real stupid. So
Yeah. Yeah.
life finds a
I
way.
We have a neighborhood center with like a bunch of soccer fields and stuff, which is where my kids play soccer, where I play soccer too with my soccer
Yeah.
group. Except now it's snowing today,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
soccer is done for the season. Um, and they also have like a giant jungle gym. Like they have like
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
giant like
It is
adult
scary. I
size.
have climbed
It
on that
is,
thing
I
and
know.
I'm like, you know what? I can't even do this. It is like, it's
Yeah.
scary. Yeah.
Yeah. And basketball courts and stuff. And I see a lot of teenagers there. And I feel like, well,
Good.
good. This is serving
Yeah.
its purpose.
Yeah. That is
Yeah.
good. They're not, putting people in the trunk and driving around.
Yeah.
I just think like, what
I,
if I'd gotten rear-ended? I mean, I was just in
oh
the
my God.
neighborhood and there were no other cars, but
Yeah.
still,
Still,
like, yeah.
yeah. Um, I have memories of like watching Oprah explain how to get out of a trunk if you're ever
Ooh.
locked in
Yeah.
it.
Nowadays, don't they
Which,
have a thing that'll like a
yeah,
release or
a
something?
thing you can pull. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also feel like that was such a symptom of like the stranger danger mid 90s.
Yes. Yeah, like
Yeah.
what is actually more practical would be like, I don't know, talking about, I don't know,
How to
actual threats
identify, yeah, dangerous
like
people who
abusive
might be in your life.
relationships or
Right.
yeah, like that
Yes.
sort of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Um, so so he's chased off.
Yes.
What were you gonna say?
That's what I was going to say. So in
Oh,
this case,
yes.
the person did not voluntarily climb into the trunk. And
No.
here we go. Wait, is she even in
Yes.
the trunk? I just assumed she
Yeah,
was.
she is.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So then we see Mulder talking to the lead detective, and apparently Lucy did some time for like time in jail
Hmm.
for sex work and drugs. But Mulder is saying he doesn't think she's involved. And Scully comes in, and apparently Lucy's blood type is O positive. Be like, what's up? O positives.
Oh, are you
That's
O
what I am.
positive?
I am, yes.
I had a brief
Um,
second of feeling like, oh, should you announce that publicly as if you just said your social security number or something? Like, again, what is our audience prepared to do with that information? Give
yeah,
you a transfusion? I don't
yeah,
know. Prick
that's
your
fine.
finger and use it in an experiment? All right.
Yeah. The blood and the urine stories are connected because they were going to be doing a test for blood in urine, and so she was having me prick my finger to put blood in the bucket
In
of
her
urine.
urine. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh,
Um,
I just feel like I don't want my blood touching your pee.
yeah, no. Oh, this reminds me actually. Zach saw an article the other
Oh,
day.
no. Okay. All
No,
right.
no.
Okay.
About these new devices that are similar to leeches that they can use for blood tests for people that are really afraid. And he was
Really?
wondering, and I'm wondering as well, if that seems better or worse to you or the same.
Well, let me ask, do they look like a leech? Like,
Kinda.
I mean, I don't have any experience with leeches, so how would I know? It's not like, oh, you don't want a leeches on me sucking my blood. I'm totally cool with it. Like, I've never encountered a leech. I think my question, I'm starting to feel sick just thinking about
Okay,
it, so
nope,
that's not a
we're
good
good then.
sign.
No.
Yeah, I think that though it seems tentatively promising,
Okay.
but still very bad.
Okay. All right. Not
Yeah.
like a, oh, well, that would be fine reaction.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No, because I
Okay.
still know what's happening. And also knowing it's like a leech kind of freaks me out. So,
Okay. Then let's
yeah.
not worry about
If
it
it avoided
anymore.
the tourniquet, though, that would be an improvement.
Okay. I will say, just as like a general PSA, that you had
Hmm.
told me about putting numbing cream on your
Hmm.
arm to make it
Hmm.
better because William, my 10-year-old, is really afraid of shots. And that made such a big difference when
Did
he
it
got his flu shot.
really?
Yes, it
Because
made
I gotta
such
get
a big
mine
difference.
soon. Okay, because
Yes.
I was reading something from someone who was like, well, actually, it doesn't help that much because the pain is under the surface layer of the skin. But I kind of feel like, I don't know, I'll take what I can get.
Right. And I
Yeah.
mean, who knows? Maybe it was even,
Like placebo
psychological.
effect. Yeah, who
Right. But
cares? Take it.
he said
Yeah.
it helped. Yeah.
That's great. Okay, good
Yes.
to know.
Yeah. Anywho, so Lucy is blood type O positive, just like
Hmm.
myself.
Hmm.
But the hospital lifted two blood types from her uniform, O
Oh.
positive and B positive, which is Amy's blood type.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Psychic blood
Yep.
traveling. Okay.
And Mulder thinks that Lucy is just a victim in all this, but Scully is more concerned. And Scully says she's going to run a PCR on her blood to see if there's a DNA match. So she wants to see, like, what is the DNA? Can they find Amy's DNA in there as well? Like, because a lot of people have B positive blood.
Got it. Okay.
And Mulder wants her to keep it quiet, though, until they're absolutely certain that she has something to do with it.
Yeah.
So then it shows a halfway house,
Hmm.
which is what they call it.
Hmm.
And it shows, that's how I know, that's what I'm saying. And it
Gotcha.
shows Lucy in bed shivering, and a
Oh.
guy brings her another blanket, and she's got cuts on her face, and she starts saying that she can't see and that it's dark.
Oh.
Which reminds me of one time and the lights are on in the room, because this reminds me of one time when I was a child. I walked in our parents' bedroom and I was like, I can't see. And our mom thought that I meant that I like my vision had gone out. It was just
Hmm.
dark in there. And she like momentarily was like, okay, all right, well, let's talk to your dad.
Oh.
And I was like, no, it's just dark. Like
Oh, gotcha.
she anyway. But it is light in the room and she cannot
Okay.
see.
Okay.
And it cuts to Amy then uh in Oubliette, basically.
Hmm.
And a slit appears and the
And that's like
kidnapper's
a
eyes appear.
basically claustrophobic containment,
Hole in the
terrible.
ground, small opening up top.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Um, Featured in Don Quixote. Or well, The Man of La Mancha,
Oh,
but
okay.
there's an oubliette involved.
Oh, I didn't know
Um,
that.
I mean,
Okay.
why would you?
I know,
But
I saw you in it.
that's true.
So I wanted to yell at you and be like, stop taking him to be executed. Helen,
Yeah.
you're
I,
better than this.
I was a member of the Spanish Inquisition. That was
Yeah.
my role.
Yeah.
So then we see like the kidnapper's eyes appear in the slit, watching her, and he covers
Mm.
it up again. It's very Silence of the Lambs-ish.
Hmm.
Um, which came out in 91. I looked up. I was
Okay.
like, because I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
So then police cars and Mulder show up at the halfway house, and the paramedics are checking out Lucy, and they say she's fine. Her vitals are back to normal, but that she should get something to eat. And so Mulder offers to take her to get some dinner. And so they're kind of talking, and he asks her if she's using again, and she says she's not. And she says there's nothing she can do about that girl being in trouble, and it's clear she just like doesn't want anything to do with this, but she's not exactly telling Mulder he's wrong either, because
Hmm.
he's suspicious there's some sort of psychic link, right?
Yeah.
Um, and she says that she couldn't lead them to her anyway. And so there's nothing she can do about it anyway. So then it shows back in the oubliette and it's dark, but the kidnapper is down there and keeps just snapping pictures of her with a super bright flash, which is super
Ugh.
creepy.
Yeah.
Um, so Scully walks into the station and Mulder is watching footage from when Lucy was found,
Okay.
after she escaped her kidnapper. And she can't stand the light because she's been held in the dark for so long. And she
Mm.
also apparently could barely speak because the kidnapper hadn't spoken to her in much in like the 5 years she was there.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And Scully is there to tell him that she has a lead, that school
Hmm.
pictures were sent out that week, but Amy's never
Ah.
arrived.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
Good
Um,
detective work, Scully.
yep. And the photographer checked out, but the assistant had apparently been fired the next day. And the
Why was he
assistant was
fired?
they don't actually tell us.
Hmm. I
If
mean,
I'm
I just
being
assumed
a creep.
creepiness. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Too creepy.
Um, yeah. His name was Carl Wade, and
Okay.
he apparently had spent a number of years in a mental hospital. And they have a picture of him to show Lucy and Amy's sister to see if they
Okay.
recognize him. So it shows Carl leaving his house, and Amy can hear the car starting and him driving away. And so she starts pulling up the boarded windows to try to escape.
Okay.
Mulder shows up at Lucy's house, and shows her the picture of Carl, and she walks away from him upon seeing it. So
Okay.
like Mulder
Also,
shows it
sorry,
to
it just
her.
blows my mind that he can't just immediately text it to her. Sometimes,
Well, I
just
don't
once
know if they
again,
can do, I mean, I don't know. Can police just text you a picture of
I don't
like,
know. That's a good
I don't know.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seems like why couldn't they? I don't know. Whatever.
I think they'd probably have to come show it to you.
I guess maybe you'd want to see the reaction anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she walks away. That's her
Okay.
reaction.
Okay.
Uh, and meanwhile, Carl is back from getting groceries, and Amy
Mm,
is still trying to break out.
mm,
And like as he's coming down, looking down through the opening, he sees her crawling out of the window
mm.
and sees like
Ah,
her feet disappearing.
oh
Yeah.
God.
So
Go,
she's
Amy, go.
I know she's running then. She's running through the woods, confused, and Lucy had run away from Mulder and is also
Mm.
running away,
Oh, okay.
confused.
Hmm.
And Carl catches up to Amy and shows both her and Lucy fall, and they both
Hmm.
are like clutching their same arm that appears to be hurt.
Oh, okay.
Um, but Mulder, so they both catch up to both of them,
Hmm.
unfortunately. So Carl catches up to Amy, Mulder
Hmm.
catches up to Lucy. And they're back in the house, Mulder and Lucy, looking at the picture. And Mulder tells her what his name is and how he had found Amy through his job. And essentially, the reason why Lucy ran away, right, is because this was her captor, too. This was
Yes.
the
Oh,
same. Yeah.
yes.
Just
Yeah.
making that clear. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but then Scully and the lead detective are there to arrest Lucy because the blood on Lucy's uniform was an exact match. The DNA
Mm.
was.
Hmm.
And so they go to arrest her, but she's gone. She
Okay.
is no longer in the room.
Okay.
Um, and we see for a bit, we see Carl and Amy, and he's kind of pissed at her for running away, and being, scary and stuff. And apparently Jewel State, the actress who played
Hmm.
Amy and Kaylee on Firefly, said that Michael Chieffo, however you pronounce that, the guy who played Carl,
Okay.
was like really lovely to her and made sure
Oh.
that she didn't feel scared around him and was
Oh.
like very, very a kind guy.
Oh, isn't that
Um,
nice?
yes, it is nice.
Oh.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. So, um, then back at the station, Mulder is talking to the lead detective in Scully, and saying he doesn't think Lucy was involved, but he thinks that the blood got on her because he thinks that Lucy bled it, that she bled Amy's blood.
Okay.
And they don't really buy it,
Fair.
which is, yeah.
Yeah.
Scully thinks that she's working with Carl Wade, that Lucy is, because
Hmm.
she developed an attachment to him when she was held captive. And that makes more sense than her bleeding Amy's blood, which like, it's really interesting because like, we clearly know Mulder's right. And he's
Yeah.
like much more the sympathetic character here. And Scully comes off kind of like harsh and, but then it's
Hmm.
like when you say it out loud and you're like, well, Mulder's theory is that she bled another person's blood.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
kind of like, okay, well,
Yeah,
like,
I mean, I feel this is like the very clear pattern of like
yeah,
Mulder might not be exactly right at the start of the episode, but he's far closer to right than Scully.
yeah,
I would love to see an episode where he's super wrong and she is super right. Like just a regular
yeah.
standard, like I feel like that's what happened with The Walk. Like she
Yeah.
thought
Hmm.
that like, oh, this guy's covering up for these people murdering their families or whatever. And no, it was Mulder was right. It was the quadriplegic man
Right.
spirit,
Right.
killing people. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah. And I
yeah,
feel
it's
like there must be, like, I feel like, but I can't name occurrences of it, like
I can't
I
either.
feel, yeah.
I mean, I feel like a lot gets talked about how Scully has seen so much crazy stuff and still is a skeptic, but I also feel like don't you start with the most obvious stuff? Because there is
Right.
stuff that is not an X-file. So
Right.
what if it's that? Shouldn't we start by assuming it's not an X-file? But of
Right.
course, within the show, no, Mulder is right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very confusing because, like, does it make more sense that, like, this woman who is associated in some way, even if it's a bad way, with this man, has the victim's blood on her? Like, that looks
Like,
pretty darn
even if that's
suspicious.
not the
Like,
case, shouldn't we err on the side of caution and assume it could
right.
be and look into it further? Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's interesting, like I was reading about the episode and people are pretty critical of Scully in it and like really praise
Really?
Mulder's performance, which like I agree with. Mulder does a great job. It's a really good
Mhm.
episode. But only because you know what's going on, like, and that it's on a show called The X-Files,
Yeah,
like
yeah. Yeah, if
otherwise,
this was like a non X-Files show, you would be
right,
like, "Oh my God, trust your scientist partner."
right.
Like
Yes. Yeah.
she's doing solid detective work here,
Yeah.
dude. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're kind of arguing about this.
Hmm.
And Scully is worried that he's so sympathetic to Lucy as a victim in regards to his sister, that he can't see
Got
her
it.
clearly.
Yeah,
But
okay.
he's saying that like, no, she of all people should know that like not every single behavior from a person just relates back to that one experience, and that it's not just because of Samantha
Hmm.
that he thinks
And
this.
that's fair. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yep.
that's good. Yeah.
So the detective comes in and says that there's someone who has spotted Carl, and wants to talk to them. And it's a tow truck driver.
Yeah. I'm so glad he didn't
Yeah,
die.
I know. So he shows them on a map where the car was stopped. And
Great.
it's near Easton, Washington, which was
Okay.
where Lucy was found 17 years ago.
Oh.
So we see all the detective cars going by in Easton, presumably,
Hmm.
and Wade is sitting in his car and like sees them go past.
Oh, okay.
And Mulder and Scully stop at the photo studio in town to see if he has an account there to get his address.
Hmm.
And they must get his address because the next scene is them at his house.
Okay.
And they go inside the house, and Mulder goes in the basement, and he is there with Lucy, with no idea how she got there.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
okay.
right. Amy is not in the basement at this moment.
Whoa.
Lucy is.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. Oh.
And
Huh.
that never gets explained. It's some sort of switcheroo. I don't know.
The old switcheroo.
Yeah.
So, like, presumably Amy, do we find out where Amy is? I
Yes.
assume.
Yes.
So, presumably the bad guy moved Amy and then Lucy, in like a fugue state, wandered back into his house?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So they're questioning her, Mulder, Scully,
Hmm.
and the lead detective, trying to get Lucy to tell them where Wade and Amy are. And she's like, I don't know why I'm here. I don't know where they are. Like she doesn't know what
Hmm.
happened. And so they're going to take her into custody,
And I do kind
which,
of feel like while it's suspicious that she's there, it also seems like if she isn't involved, or I'm sorry, if she was involved, why would she go there? Like,
right. Yes.
like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
that almost lends more to Mulder's idea that she's a victim in this. So,
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
So Mulder then is kind of talking to Lucy privately while they're walking out to the car and trying to help her and trying to get her to help Amy. And Lucy starts shivering and saying that she's cold and wet, even though she's like
Hmm.
just not
Yeah.
either,
Yeah.
in a car. So even though Wade's car, someone comes up and says Wade's car was found to the north, Mulder heads east towards the river, because
Ah,
Lucy is cold
okay.
and wet.
Yeah.
So then it shows Wade, and I switch in my notes. I was calling him Carl. I was calling him Wade. His name is Carl Wade. Anyway,
Yeah. Whatever.
it shows Wade trying to drown Amy in the river and
Oh.
saying nobody's going to spoil this. Um, and then we
Ooh.
see Lucy in the back of the car asphyxiating, and the detective
Oh.
that was there calls EMS, calls the
Hmm.
EMTs.
Hmm.
But Mulder and Scully are in the woods running towards the river, and they find the river and they see Wade drowning Amy. And
Oh.
Mulder warns him to stop, but he continues, and so Mulder shoots him. And they go get Amy from the river and pull her to land. And Scully begins CPR, which apparently I was reading some critics called half-hearted. Like they thought it was unrealistic. Like it was like evidence of Scully's not caring in this episode that she like stops the CPR pretty soon, which like she does stop it relatively soon, but like also it's TV. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like there's no way that the writers were like, we want it to look like Scully might want her to die,
Yeah,
like, or might not
right.
care. Like, there's no way that was a
Yeah,
deliberate choice for Scully's character because she's not
right.
a monster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so it shows Lucy breathing, like it cuts to Lucy breathing. So like, Mulder is helping Mulder breathes into Amy's mouth while they're giving her CPR, but then it like
Mhm.
shows Lucy's chest rise.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, and Mulder wants to keep going, but Scully makes him stop. She's convinced it's
Mm.
too late. And so they like kind of stand up and like get a little distance and are gonna call everyone. But then Amy starts stirring and coughs up water.
Oh, okay,
And they're
great.
like, oh my God, yeah. And the detective comes down and, Scully's like, we need emergency services, she needs
Hmm.
help, blah, blah, blah. And he says, well, the EMS are nearby because they got called because of Lucy.
Hmm.
And so they all go up the hill, presumably. But by the time they get there, Lucy died.
Oh
Um,
no. But she was
yeah.
breathing.
But then, well, but she was being resuscitated by emergency services. You see what happened? And so it saved Amy. That's why Amy lived.
But wasn't Lucy breathing because she was being resuscitated by Mulder through Amy?
Right. But then they stopped. Mulder and Scully stopped. The EMTs got there
Oh.
and were able to resuscitate
Oh
Lucy.
no.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's also really weird.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
right.
Okay,
Yeah.
I see
Yeah.
though. That is
Yeah.
complicated. All right.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. So there it shows them back at the halfway house and Mulder is going through some of Lucy's things, looking at like some pictures, and Scully comes
Mhm.
in and tells him that Amy's exhausted, but she's going to be fine. And apparently she didn't have a cut on her despite being dragged through the woods for a mile. Um, and that
Oh.
Scully got the autopsy reports on Lucy and apparently she had drowned. So
Ah.
yeah, once again, so Lucy had been taking the cuts.
Yeah. So she basically was enduring the stuff
Yeah,
that Amy wasn't. It's not that they both
right,
were, it's that only Lucy was.
right.
Okay.
Yeah. And so they kind of talk about how, Lucy essentially saved Amy's life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and they're saying nice things like there's no animosity
Yeah.
between them. I don't know,
Hmm.
and says, Scully says that Lucy may have died for Amy, but without you, they never would have found her. And it's clear Mulder's
Oh.
kind of upset though that Lucy had
Yeah.
died.
Yeah.
And next is Nisai, which will
Yeah. Oh, so that's
definitely
that's the
have
end of the
X in
episode.
it. Yes, that's the end of the
Yeah.
episode.
It
Um,
better. It
and
better have X in
yes,
it.
I can't imagine it wouldn't, but we've been burned before. You've been burned before.
I've been
I
burned
mean,
before. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Um, yeah. This is the one I believe I checked is the one where there's an alien autopsy on TV that looks really fake.
yeah.
And this was inspired by there was an alien autopsy special on TV in the 90s, I think, on Fox.
Really?
Yeah, which
I'm gonna
is
need more
weird.
information about that next week.
I will look into it and provide it because that
Okay.
is really insane to be saying out loud. Like,
Yes.
how can that be? How are we all just like, oh, okay? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Huh.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Wow. No
And I
kidding.
think it's either Nisai or 731 is the one that has some crazy truck stuff or train
Train.
stuff.
Train, I
Train.
believe.
There's Mulder jumping off of
Yes.
something
A
onto
bridge
something.
onto a train,
A bridge
I
onto a
believe.
train. Okay, I was thinking it was a bridge onto a truck. Have we watched the one where
Mm,
they are? Yeah, we watched the one where they're tracking a truck across the country already, right?
maybe.
Again,
Uh,
I don't know what it will take for a person
yeah.
to learn these episodes well if people dedicating a podcast to them can't hang on to them that well.
Well, I mean,
So,
we've gone through two full seasons, which are like 20 some episodes each. And it's been over the last couple of years we've been doing this. So, like, I mean,
I guess. Yeah.
yeah,
I guess if we were making like a really intense study of it and taking notes
right,
within like a 6 week period or something, then
right.
maybe,
Or if we
yeah.
had a spreadsheet we could refer back to and be like,
Yeah.
ah,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
that
Yeah. I wish we'd been tracking a lot of things. And now I'm like,
I know.
we could go back, but I'm like, I don't want to have incomplete data, but like
Yeah,
I don't want to not, I don't know. I don't want to go
I know.
back.
Yeah. Maybe I can have my colleague Britt, as she's
Yeah.
listening to
Yeah.
it,
Yeah. Take
take
some
some
data
notes
for
for
us.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's a scientist. She'd do it
Yeah.
right. We had an all faculty meeting last night, which is just what it sounds like.
Hmm.
And they were going over some data that had been shared from students, from like student satisfaction surveys. And it
Hmm.
was like, I don't know, the most stereotypical, like all these people raising their hands and being like, well, what was the N here? And being like, well, do you have the demographics? Well, the question is phrased this way. I don't know. It was just like a bunch of
Like
PhDs being all,
stats people. Oh, that's
yes,
awesome.
yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah, it was, and I was one of them. I can't even like, so, yeah. All right. So next up is Nisai and
Yeah.
great.
And listeners, do your
Yeah.
thing. Please
Yeah.
subscribe, follow us on Instagram, share,
Yep.
share. That's what I would really appreciate. Be
Share.
like, hey,
Yeah.
I listened to this podcast. Perhaps you should too.
Yes.
We want to believe pod at gmail.com if you want to share any eerie X-Files seeming type stories from your own life, or share
Yeah.
anything else with us.
Do you check the email?
I get automated things on my
Oh,
phone
okay.
if it does anything. So
Oh,
like
okay.
mostly it's just your junk because you signed up for one of those genealogy companies with that
Oh,
email
that's
because you were running
right.
out of free accounts or something. So it'll be like
That's
Helen
right.
Werner, we have a hint about your great grandmother or something. So
Oh, whoops.
so I'm
Sorry.
always kind of interested because it's also my great grandmother, but then I'm
Right.
like, no, this is just, this is nothing.
Bait, essentially,
Yeah,
to
it
get
is
you
bait.
to,
Yeah,
yeah.
to pay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Well, until next time then. Bye.
Bye.